Hello, my name is Sive. Welcome to my booktube channel. This is Stories in Sive. I talk about books, and today I have my final TBR of the year for you. I want to give you a list of books that I would like to read or are on my radar for the end of 2025. Hard to believe we're at this point in the year, but I'm starting out with a list of things on my radar, and then at the very end I'm going to list 3 non-negotiable books that must be finished. So comment down below if there is a book that you have to finish before the end of the year, and let's get into my list. First, I am going to talk about the final book in a series. This is Capturing the Devil by Carrie Maniscalco. I really got into this series. This is a murder mystery. It's set in a carnival, like some sort of fairgrounds, and it features a romance that has really naturally built over the course of these 3-4 books. Capturing the Devil is the 4th and final book in this series. Audrey Rose is the main character, and she is a mortician in training, and that's how she gets herself in these situations. She is a feminine icon. She is 100% in the OG Women in STEM club, and I've really enjoyed these books. I can't tell which is my favorite, the second or the third one, but I cannot wait to finish the series. The next book is The Burial Tide by Neil Sharpson. Irish speculative horror with resurrection and folklore and some very suspicious and superstitious townspeople. I hope that this gets very weird and very out there. This is the 2025 release of this author. I have read from them once before. This is Binks, my cat. If you guys are new to the channel, this is him. He's very interested in my mug that I'm about to pour coffee into that has half and half in it. See, look, he's going for it. That's crazy. Basically, Neil Sharpson wrote one of my 5-star horrors this year called Knock Knock Open Wide. It is a contender for my top 10 this year, and actually very likely that it will be in my new all-time favorite horror list. Cannot wait to get to this one. Keeping the horror energy going, I have The Wasp Factory by Ian Banks. This is a short staple in the horror genre, what I would maybe consider or perceive to be staples in the Disturbing Reads starter pack. This was written in 1984, and I believe garnered him a little bit of controversial, widespread just talking points because of this book. I believe it follows 2 brothers and their very disturbing relationship. Next, a bit lighter-hearted, I would love to read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir before the end of this year. A survival story at its heart, this sci-fi epic features a very dry, humored, sarcastic main character that I know I'm going to love and connect with because I really enjoyed The Martian by Andy Weir. This is a longer book, but I feel like the payoff is going to be there, and also I am very aware that the movie adaptation is coming out in 2026, so I am going to 100% read that book before the movie comes out. The next book is going to be Their Vicious Games by Joel Wellington. This, I believe, follows our main character, Adina, and she is a black student in a predominantly white school, so it has that dark academia setting that I love. After one slip up, she's basically forced to compete in this competition to earn a scholarship so that this one mistake won't end up costing her her future. I love Ace of Spades and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and a lot of those YA thriller but set in a school. So I think that this book is going to have obviously that element, and combining it with the competition, I think I'm going to love this book. Okay, I believe it's time to pour myself my coffee. I most of the time do my coffee in a French press, so we're gonna push that down. He just got a lizard. It was on the outside of the screen though, so he just batted it away. Stop. He's really going for the half and half, dude. Okay, I need to pour this coffee before he freaking gets in there. I have my lovely mug that my friend Becca gave me. Here we go. Stunning. Okay, back to it. I am going to show you next Big Swiss by Jen Began. This is a library book, but the library also has an ebook copy. I'll probably read this on ebook, but this is a literary contemporary novel about a woman who works as a transcriber for a sex and relationship therapist. Because of her job, she ends up developing an obsession over one of this therapist's patients. She knows from the transcription that she's described as tall, and she is also from Switzerland, so she calls her Big Swiss. This is is again, I'm using the word staple, but a staple in the weird lit girl fiction that through no fault of my own has just begun to take over my, explore page, my Instagram. Really excited to give this a try. I think it's gonna be darkly humorous and just quite weird. Okay, next up is a very special book, and that is The Eternal Ones by Namina Forna. This book is also another last in series read that I do want to wrap up before the end of the year. This is the conclusion of the Deathless series, which is an epic fantasy trilogy. This has themes of godhood, divine gifts, and the battle between good and evil. A couple things I love about this series is that the reveals throughout the plot are insane. Very well crafted and thought out. The violence in here is also quite high stakes for a young adult readership, which I appreciated because it really does carry on the serious tones that is set up. And the found family is a really, really strong element in this series as well, which I love. The first book follows Decca, and she is approaching the age where her society essentially bleeds young people, and if they bleed gold and not red, they are killed. When her time comes, she does indeed bleed gold. And while she's awaiting her fate, a mysterious person arrives and offers her another option. In preparation for this video, I actually went back and watched the vlog where I read the previous book in the series. I just remember having such a good time with the last book. The first book was my least favorite, and then I ended up liking the second one more than that. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this and finish the series and know what happens. The second to last book that's on my radar portion of the video is going to be Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. This is set in the same world as one of her previous series, Divine Rivals. Vincent is a mortal man who has met a young goddess in his dreams, and Matilda is that same young goddess who is coming of age in her own hostile land, her own hostile territory. Her job is a messenger, but she carries her own big secrets. Years after Vincent writes a letter that goes unanswered to Matilda, the woman he has met in his dreams, we see these two have their lives collide, and fate has something in store for them. Safe to say, I am so excited to read this book. It's a new release by Rebecca Ross. I'm thrilled. I think it's going to be so good. I really do have a soft spot for Divine Rivals and that world. I think it's going to be a good one. Okay, the last book in this on my radar section is going to be The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. What do a cowardly prince, a legendary smuggler, and a quest to go and find this magical lamp all have in common? They're in this book. Luli Al-Nazari is our main character. She steals and sells illegal magic, and the story is kicked off when she kind of accidentally saves this prince, and so the eyes of his father, the Sultan, turn to her, and he sees her as basically a potential solution to a problem that he has. I love the Daevabad trilogy, so anything that slightly resembles that type of djinn magic and that sort of political fantasy setting, I am going to pick up. I am very, very excited to read this one. I think it could be a hit for me. All right, let's keep it going. So here are the 3 books that are non-negotiable. I will be finishing these before the end of the year. Firstly, Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austen. This is another kind of weird lit contemporary literary girly fiction. This is on the non-negotiable because I read my first Emily Austen this year. I read Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead, and it was 100% a favorite book of the year. It's gonna be my top 10 for sure, maybe my top 5. I connected with it so well, and when I saw this copy of this book in my Second and Charles, which is a secondhand bookshop, I knew I had to pick it up. I've honestly made a pretty conscious effort to not read the entire synopsis of this book, but I do know we follow a girl, and she is really obsessed with space, and then also has a chronic fear of bald men. Not a haha funny fear, a chronic phobia of bald men, and she's trying to keep it under wraps basically. Feels a little goofy. I am expecting the same dark humor, but also existentialism and questions about why we're here on this earth. that were in the other book I read. I do have high hopes for this, and this is a 5-star prediction. Hopefully it will deliver. The next book is a book I technically started already and then put down. I need to finish The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. I started the Mistborn series and read both books back to back in the spring of this year. Started this one and got 36 pages in. I know exactly why I put it down, and we don't need to go into that, but I am going to finish this book. I definitely thought Brandon Sanderson was going to have a larger footprint on my reading in 2025 this year. It's okay, all is well. I'm definitely going to read this though. The Mistborn series is a epic fantasy. It is set in a world where magic is basically created using metals, ingesting metals, digesting them, and then using them as almost like effects on the items and people around you. Really fun magic system. It is pretty heavily political because we are trying to topple a regime. And I just want to say that the typical plot that you would think of for a book like this is not what happens. I've been gagged like so many times by this series, and jaw on the floor. The twists and the reveals have been, bless you, exceptional, to say the least. So I will be finishing this. The last book on my list is The Seventh Veil of Salome by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I've only read one Silvia Moreno Garcia this year. She's one of my favorite authors. I've given her 5 stars 3 times. So the fact that I've only read one other book from her backlist this year is pretty crazy. So I'm going to get to this. This is 1950s Hollywood. It's talking about young actresses who are vying for the role of Salome in this play called The Seventh Veil of Salome. The interesting take on this is that Silvia Moreno Garcia also writes Salome's story from that time period. So it is also the story of Salome herself as she falls in love with a prophet who she is not supposed to know, like, talk to, let alone fall in love with. And it is the classic push and pull for a woman between the duty that she has to her family versus her heart, where her desires are leading her. I'm expecting this to be a good balance between something very fun and drama filled while also quite serious tones with these serious themes that I've said. All right, my friends, that is it. Those are all of the books that are on my final TBR, some much more seriously placed than others. Have you read any of the books that I've talked about? Please let me know your thoughts on them down below. And like I said earlier, if you have any books that are on your 2025 must read before the end of the year list, let me know. If you like other bookish content like this, feel free to subscribe. I would love to have you. And other than that, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.